Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Shay's Hobby Dog Bay. This is another booktube video. Okay, I am going to be combining about 3 different types of things here in this video for booktube. Number 1 is the phone book that I was reading called Maple Syrup Murder. Whoa. Hit the wrong one. Okay, Maple Syrup Murder by Grace Lemon. I finished reading it and it was pretty good. I can't remember what I told y'all about it last time. I may not have told y'all anything. So there's this lady. Her name was, and see that's the problem, I even have trouble remembering people's names. Ida. I think her name was Ida. Okay, and she lived in this small town. It was called Cider Island. Okay. She has a maple syrup shop, I think, or some kind of shop. She sells sweets, but she gets her syrup from her best friend, who her mom and dad had this place where they had maple trees, and they actually got the maple out of the trees like the old-fashioned way, and that's how they sold it to people. And so she's continued that on. The friend's name, I can't remember the friend's name. It was that weird word, started with M. Mara. I'm going to say Mara. So they were having this big fest to do out at her place where the maple trees were, syrup trees, whatever. Anyway, so during this, Ida had seen the new girl that Mara had hired to work for her. And she asked Mara about her, and Mara had told her that she hired her to help her and her family out because they didn't have a whole lot of money. But yet, Ida was seeing this girl with like expensive jewelry on and a fine smartphone, you know, and she was thinking it ain't looking like they don't have much money. And she seen her, she caught her flirting. There was this guy that had come that was checking things out. He was trying to, I can't remember exactly what he was called, but I think he was trying to shut them down. You know, if he gave a bad report, I guess it could have shut them down or something like that. But anyway, Ida caught the girl, and I can't remember the young girl's name, flirting with him. And anyway, I think Mara and the guy had been arguing, and Ida had, you know, heard them arguing. But anyway, comes to find out, somebody screams and comes running, and when they went and looked in it was the shed where they kept all the maple syrup out by the trees where it did all that at and everything. Anyway, they found the guy dead there, and it was the guy that was checking them out to do the report, a bad report or whatever, and he got killed. Alright, so Ida is the one, she just keeps, you know, finding out things, and let's see, I'm trying to remember about the cop. I think her and the cop, see, I get 2 books mixed up. I need to hurry up and do this as soon as I do it before I even start reading another book, but it's, a lot of times I'm ready to start reading another book right then, and it's not always possible or easy for me to jump on and do a video real quick. So anyway, either, you know, I can't remember about the cop. Sometimes the cop and the amateur detective is friends and get along, and he asks her help, and then sometimes he's trying to get her to stop doing the detective work and all this kind of stuff, and they argue and they're not getting along. So I don't know which way it is with this one, I can't remember. Sorry guys. But anyway, so, you know, it just goes on, and the police end up being suspicious of Mara, thinking Mara had killed the guy. Well, Ida is Maura's friend, and she knows Maura, and she knows she wouldn't kill. So, you know, she's also looking around. She snoops around the shed. She finds different things. And it's a good book, and I'm not going to be able to remember all the details. And I guess that's good because y'all didn't want spoilers. YouTube don't like spoilers. Well, booktube don't like spoilers. So, maybe you're getting the gist of it. And anyway, they end up solving the mystery. And I mean, that's going to be a big spoiler if I tell who did it. I'm trying to think now. I can't even remember who done it. There was another guy there. I think it was him. There was another guy there that had a business, a syrup business too. And Maura's syrup business was doing better than his, and he didn't like that. So he was trying to do things to make his business do better. And see, I'm not even sure. It could have been him that killed the guy. You know, to be honest, I really can't remember now. The deal with the young girl, come to find out, she was sneaking in the shed because they seen some spilled. And she was sneaking in the shed and stealing some of the syrup, and then she was taking it to town and selling it for herself and making money off of it, and that's how she was getting all that stuff. So that was the deal with that, and to be honest, I really cannot remember. I'm going to have to get better at these. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not a really good booktuber person. I don't do this the right way. I am so sorry. I'm going to have to get better at this. But I finished that book. It was good. I liked it. I moved on and found another one. Let me see if it is in this one. And I may have to go back to the other ones. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now the one I am reading on my phone book, so this is part 2. And I said there was 3 parts to it. Not actual video parts, but things to talk about. So, that book I had read, and I was telling y'all about that. Now I've searched another phone book, and I've started reading it, and it's good, and I like it. So I'm going to tell you about that. This is part 2, and then part 3 is another part. So, this one is this one right here. It's called Murder in Primary by Nora Barker. Okay, so what this is, it's a college campus. The main lady's name the main person's name, the one that ends up being the amateur detective, it's another lady, and her name is Dr. Christmas Eve Connery. But she shortened her first name. Her first name is Christmas, her middle name is Eve. And her last name is Connery. Sorry, that was an alarm going off on my phone. She shortened her first name Christmas to Chris, so she calls herself Chris. So, and it's this college campus, and they have an art museum on it, art gallery, where they have art stuff displayed, and people can come in and look, you know, at the stuff. And then they had this big opening thing going on because the art gallery was having something donated to it by a rich guy that used to go to that college back in the day. So he was donating to his old college art museum. And so the lady over the art museum, her name was Elizabeth Page. And so they had this opening and was doing this. Well, it ends up, I mean, it starts right into Chris, the lady, the amateur detective, finds Elizabeth on the floor dead. And so at first, the way things looked, they thought she was changing a light bulb and fell off of a ladder and hit her head and died. But when they did the autopsy, they found this big old, like a cannon bullet thing in her head, and that's what killed her. Well, they're doing research and all of this kind of stuff, and come to find out, because they have this other room where they have all these different unique, silly, odd contraptions that works and does things, and they're all plugged up, so they're all moving and doing and making noise and all this kind of stuff. but one of them shoots these cannon things, and it was actually missing off its pedestal, and it shoots these cannon things, and the autopsy found that in her head, so they feel like that's what did it. They just don't know who did it yet. So I'm still going with that. I told you that little bit about it, but I'm gonna read it to y'all. Alright. Normally the most violent thing that happens on the campus of Mid-State University is a football game. But that all suddenly changes. Dr. Christmas Connery and her basset hound find, she has a dog, basset hound, and her basset hound find Elizabeth Page, the director of the Mid-State Museum of Art, dead on the gallery floor in the middle of a kinetic sculpture exhibit. That's those things. Shortly after a successful opening. It gets even more complicated when it's discovered she was killed with a very unusual weapon, one that crushed the side of her skull with a half-inch steel ball bearing. Well, that's what it was. I didn't know exactly what to call it. The list of people who were not fond of Paige is a long one. She could charm the big bucks out of even the stingiest donors, but she rarely wasted her energy on even being polite to her colleagues. Chris's murder-buff mother, Pansy, oh yeah, all of her sisters are named Flowers. Pansy happens to be my favorite flower. Mother, Pansy, while visiting Chris, works her wiles on the police detective in charge, whose unwelcome presence on campus shakes the ivy-covered walls to their foundations. When the most obvious suspect is murdered, even Chris herself is suddenly in danger. So that's that book and what it's about on my phone book that I'm reading now. So when I finish it, I'll update y'all, and I'll try to do it soon after and remember everything. And be able to give y'all a good thing on that. Okay, so let me get out of this to get back to that. Pull my book back up that I was reading before I get out of this. Alright, now, the third part, and I know I showed this in my haul, but I got this book at Dollar Tree, and I wanted to do, this for booktube, as a booktube video. This is a new book that I've gotten added to my stack that I'm reading, which it's my whole stack of books that I've got here at all to read. I don't have many. And I've done a video on showing y'all some of the others. I am working on them and reading them. It's September. Of course, we're now halfway into September. I doubt very seriously I'll get through all of them. So I doubt I'll get to this one to read it in September. So I am not going to say this is on my September TBR list. What I'm doing is, as I read books in September, I am writing them down, and that's my TBR. So far, I've got A Will to Murder. That was a phone book. News of the World. That is my library book club book that I'm reading. I'm not through with it yet, but I have one chapter left, and I'll be through. I'll be finishing it tonight. So then I'll do another video letting y'all know how that was. It's good. Okay, and then The Maple Syrup Murder. That phone book I just finished here. So far 3 books in September. So if I finish, which I'll be finishing the library book one, that'll be 4. And then if I finish the primary color one that I'm reading on here, that'll be 5. And I may can finish another one before September's over with. I don't know, but I kind of doubt it. I'm just a slow book reader. So anyway, this one is called Keys of Heaven. And it's an Amish book. Okay, it's by Adina Sinfit, or however you say her name. And that's what it looks like. And I'm going to read the back again. Keys of Heaven. Sarah Yoder is learning to help the people in her Amish community as a Dr. Frey, creating teas and tinctures. I cannot pronounce a lot of these words, I'm sorry y'all, from the herbs she grows. But her latest patient seems to have a problem that can't be resolved with Sarah's remedies. A woman who, in Sarah's mind, would flourish anywhere other than where she lives. Meanwhile, as Sarah's relatives attempt a little matchmaking between her and a visiting Amish man, She struggles to let God show her his choice of partner and not allow her friendship with her neighbor, Henry Byler, to grow into anything more. Henry has seen some success as a potter since a major store commissioned his work for their catalog. But the trouble is they want to market him as Amish. Though he was raised in the faith and lives in Amish country, Henry has never joined a church and doesn't plan to, which also means, despite the attraction between them, he must keep his distance from Sarah. But what will happen when Sarah and Henry are called upon to help a runaway whose English family is blind to how lost their son has become? The plant Sarah calls keys of heaven can grow in impossible places, but it's hard for people to find their own place, which creates quite a temptation for Sarah to take matters into her own hands. So that's this book. I'm going to read about the author. Adina Sinfit grew up in a plain house church and was often asked if she was Amish. The answer was no. She holds an MFA in writing popular fiction from Seton Hill University, where she is adjunct faculty. Between books, she enjoys playing the piano and Celtic harp and spoiling her flock of rescued chickens. So that's about the author that wrote this book. Okay, so that's all I have for y'all on this video for BookTube. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, leave me comments. I love to read them and answer them. I'm out of here until next time I'm done. I'm going to the loo.